Greetings, everyone. Grandmaster Amira here, coming to you live from Mombasa, Kenya. And once again, talking to you today about a subject that I actually have done research on, but have prepared zero for this talk. Now, haters were trying to kill me, and because they thought that I was crazy for thinking that the Chinese were a benefit to Africa. And I went over the chat line trying to find out who these people were there. They were not. They weren't talking in the chat. No, they were smart. They stayed out of the chat a lot, and they stayed out of the comment section too, because they know I can go after them in the comment section. No, what they do? They call me on the phone with unlisted numbers. I'm in Ra, you're gonna die. I'm like, what did I do? You said that the Chinese are Africa's friends. They're not. What's that mean? You see? So uh, I had to get busy and you know straighten them all out. And then most of them they just hung up on me. But there is a true fact that we have a serious problem with the mindset of Africans in this country. And connection is just terrible from the beginning, huh? How can that be? Let me see if I can fix this. It's a full moon tonight, so maybe that might have something to do with it. I don't know. Oh, let's see. Oh, it's just so fresh and it's acting up. Okay, for some reason, right off the bat, it's telling me that the connection is unstable. I guess they don't want me to talk to you again today. I think they might have permanently put me on a weak line on YouTube. Anyway, I'll try to talk slowly and see if that is going. You guys can hear me. Can you hear me there? D. Campbell, how are you? And Young. Oh dear. And here comes Young 10 again. Hey, how are you, man? Yeah, okay. I'm coming from the house and my wife has just come home. Dark Spear. Greetings, man. I saw you were really helping an African superstar. O'Shea. Africa already in a financial crisis. Jeff, Esteem, Mantis Kimple Grandmaster, I love defense skills. Yes, I'm going to do a video on that. Okay, I'm calling from home, and my wife has just come home from a long day of work, and she's talking. In the living room, I can hear her from here. Let's hope that the YouTube can drown out her voice. Kofu Newton Couples, peace. How are you again? Okay, you can hear me and see me good? Okay, because I'm seeing the symbol here saying that the connection is slow. Anyway, today's show is about what would happen to Africa during the financial crisis, and if the United States goes into a financial crisis. I don't know if we should say if, or should we say when, or should we say it's already there? You know, but that's what I wanted to discuss today. But anyway, uh, on the issue of the Chinese that dealing in Africa, from what I have been told in the rebuttals that came out, I just want to remind people that the Chinese were invaded by the Japanese. Not it's less than 100 years ago, and the Japanese were invaders. And so all through the country of China, they were- they called the Japanese invaders. Invaders invading their country. The Japanese needed more land. They came up with fictitious reasons on why they should attack and take the land. One Japanese soldier went missing on one military exercise, and then they just went in and started raiding, taking over China cities. That didn't end till end of World War II. And to think that the Chinese are going to turn around and now do the same thing to an African country is just stupid. The Chinese have never invaded any country, and they've been very proud of it, proud of that fact. How would they look after all the things that they have been saying bad about the Japanese and how they hate the Japanese even to this day? They don't even get along. Uh, and turn around and then start doing the same thing the Japanese did to them. In fact, what you could say is that Africa was actually being invaded by Europe. Devastating financial uh, tactics that the IMF and the World Bank were using, keeping the countries very, very poor. China saw all this. And when they were developing, they said, I don't want the same struggling to get from under the boot of a superior country. And now that they had the money and the power from being somebody that was a very weak country at one time and subjugated all over the place, they feel good when they can come to Africa and help African countries get on their feet. And at the same time, let them see the difference between what devastation the West did compared to what they did. The Chinese are not bad people. They're not people that are out there trying to condone that. And once again, I have to remind these people that talk about the Chinese, is it because you've been fooled by propaganda? Once again, I have to remind you that the Chinese have never invaded any country, and they're also doing business for over 40, almost 50 countries in Africa. So what you see them doing, their business, and creating these infrastructure projects and finishing at a really inexpensive price, considering that you got to bring 20, 30 locomotives and 140 wagons into the from China to Kenya. You got to be serious about this, and you have to look at this really from an intelligent point of view. Don't go around mistreating the Chinese in Africa, in Kenya. You're making a big mistake. You have been fooled. There is a serious campaign going out to try to make us hate the Chinese, and that's what I wanted to say on that. And anybody that comes up here and starts telling you that's not true, like Paul Graves, that's nonsense. Paul Graves, you can't come and say one Chinese man did something to one Kenyan man and then say that all the Chinese are bad. That's just being an extremist, and that's not you can't even that don't even make no sense in no kind of way. So that's what I'm gonna say for that. And so I'll be waiting for you haters. I'm watching my back everywhere I go now because these people have been brainwashed. And see, this is how the brain works. First thing is denial. I mean, that's not true. The Chinese are really bad. You know. Then comes anger. How can you say? You see. And so we're at the anger point. That's when you now start shooting the messenger. That's when you start attacking me and looking you go through my profile looking for dirt so that you can come up and go through my history and everything. Yeah, I've seen you and trying to find out something you can turn around and say, you don't know what you're talking about because in 1999 you were sleeping with 3 prostitutes and here's the photo, even though it only shows your back. So no, man. I know that a lot of them guys get mad because they go through my profile and then they see I know what I'm talking about. They end up realizing, damn, this guy, he's done a lot of things. I was with a black American day for yesterday, and talking to him, and then we we had a lot in common, and he's also uh, uh, an Infodici fan. I'm an Infodici fan, brother from in New York, and so we were talking all about that. Then I started telling him about I got this business, and I started showing him the photos and so explaining the business model to him, and he looked at me like, "Man, I didn't know you rode like that." I'm like, "Well, start league of tournaments. How can I explain a federation of club program that's going through the hundreds and hundreds of students?" So, but we'll get there. So now to get back on track and talk about what we wanted to talk about tonight. And like I said, I didn't do any. I'm just going to be off the cuff today. I'm gonna get my glasses here. I'm gonna be looking in the chat line. CEO says already laughing at me. It's okay, man. What about Kenyans who say this? Are they wrong in their own country? You see, I know we haven't had enough of this uh China thing. That's why I even brought it up at the beginning of this one. But I'm sorry for those people that want to hear about the financial deal. Let me just work on little O'Shea because he needs a butt whooping. Uh, weapons of mass destructions. If you people remember Iraq, now that was a whole government and a whole slew of people who fell for that propaganda. And I could go on list and list and list and list. You cannot go and say one Chinese man said that made somebody feel racist, and then say that that constitutes all Chinese everywhere in the world. That's ignorance. And we have to understand that the media, and I see it now after I've been doing the research here, I've been seeing a lot of Kenyans know that the media is full of shit, but they just watch it because that's all they have, and it's kind of entertaining to them. But a lot of us now, I'm seeing Kenyans really know that some of these stories that the media puts out is just there to sell papers, and that's what they're doing. And O'Shea should know better than that. If you're going to be a person that's going to be talking to people and be a content provider, then you should be given the proper content. Been doing business Chinese been doing business in an agreement with major agreement with Kenya. Where are the court cases? What Chinese man was taken to court that said that, and then the court found out that all Chinese were also bad? You see, every time if it made sense, one Chinese called somebody a racist, then all Chinese are racist. Then all Chinese should be in jail, arrested, or be thrown out the country. Hmm? You see, the media try to do this. They try to go around find Kenyans that's gonna talk shit about the Chinese, and then they forgot that the Chinese hired 40,000. No, is it 40,000? I think it's more than 40,000. But on the SGR, from Mombasa to Nairobi, they was hiring 40,000 locals. It's getting paid money. Change their whole lifestyle to work on the railway. So how you gonna get them to start talking shit about the Chinese? And can you imagine for those 3 years that they was building the railway, and even today you still don't have major complaints? You just have these one isolated headline, sensationalized headlines. You have to be careful when you see these sensationalizing headlines that capture your attention. And then you don't read the story, but you just say it must be true because I saw it in the headlines. They wouldn't put nothing that wasn't true, and it's not true. They wrote a headline that said something, and then when you read in the article, article started. When you read the article, it starts talking about it could be possibly this is what Johnson said that he thought in a dream. Chinese people eat a lot of dogs in Kenya, and then it's like you read the article and it's like Kamal said he had a dream that the Chinese were eating a lot of dogs, and then the article is based off a dream. So you kind of watch that. We will just go to war and take shit before it dies. History. Okay, I'm gonna put that in it. Oh, I lost it. Um, Kano is talk sense, man. I'm talking sense. Hmm? If you're in denial from what I'm saying, Chinese is one of the best thing that happened to Kenya. Now, how is that not making sense? You people just don't do your research, and you want to follow that. You're in love with that propaganda, and then there you are. And I'm trying to be the lone voice to try to explain this to you, that you don't go the way of Uganda. What happened with Uganda and Idi Amin? He didn't get the support of his people because people started propagandizing him. Idi Amin. Robert Mugabe was almost, ostracized by Africans all around the world because the United States was pumping daily negative reports about Robert Mugabe. And you know what they did to Gaddafi before they killed him? Saying he killed his own people. And here's a man that did wonders. He didn't allow he vowed that every Libyan, because they didn't have housing in Libya. He vowed that every Libyan would be in a house before he put his parents in a house. And his father died in a tent, living in a tent, before he gave every Libyan a house and a wedding present of an apartment when they got married. You're joking. But it was, and yeah, you're joking. Free health care, nothing. Free education up to PhD level. You're joking. When they had their crash, okay, I don't know. Asians is mad at America for making them take severe medicine in the 90s. Okay, I get that. Foresight 72. The only reason why all of those countries are interested in Africa is because there will be some massive food shortage because of climate changes. Let's wait for the climate change while we wait for the Chinese to take over Africa. That's 19 years we've been waiting, and we're still waiting. I mean, how is it the Chinese is at home and then they were like, yeah, I'm bored. I'm tired of this race. Let's go do something. Let's go take over Africa. Well, we don't want them to know. And then they said we can disguise it as help. We can even do infrastructure programs that really work, so they won't be noticing. And then we can take over 2 decades before we strike, and we'll catch them really unaware. You know, do that make sense? The Chinese government has come out time and time again and denied the fact that they were spying on the AU, a story that was developed in France. So the France is way over in France, and then they write a story saying that the Chinese is taking over the AU servers, and then the thing just blows out of proportion from France. Nobody in Africa noticed it. And what happened to that story? Nothing ever came of it because there was no evidence. And the Chinese government said emphatically, we didn't do nothing like that. Well, then what the hell kind of secrets they're going to be looking for the Chinese? They're the one who built the building. Come on. They built the AU building. But see, the French, they was upset. And then they made up these lies and then try to separate Africans because the AU is going to unify Africa, and the French don't want that. Well, it's too late now because the is now all these. That France is in trouble now because all the Africans in their quarters is saying we're going to take our money out of y'all. We stop giving you our money. I think the Benin president just came on TV yesterday and said that. You can look at that Black Man's Guide on Facebook and you can see all those countries there. If there were weapons of mass destruction, they wouldn't attack America like low hanging fruit. All Chinese are racist. They put their interests first before anyone else. Nothing wrong with that until they become what abusive. All Chinese are racist in Africa. What is a race in Africa? What race is there in Africa really? This is just Western propaganda. Racist is a Western word, not an African word. Go to 1,000 Africans asking what's the word racist mean to you. You get 1,000 different answers. And the main one would be I don't know. And we as Africans have to be able to realize what propaganda is and how do you think Africa been poor all this time? You think because and nobody throwing bombs on the countries? It's through negative propaganda. You go to a country and you could pay Africans to go against their own country. That's the worst kind of individual. Then he want to go, oh, we promise we'll take you to America if you go here and you say these nasty things about your own country. Yeah, we'll give you a visa. to go to America if you go and say 5 nasty things about Kenya. That guy's like, okay, because he want to go there because he's either watching too much movies or he think he gonna make a lot of money. That's everywhere in the world. People are like that. But the fact of the matter is, when you sit back and look at reality, if all Chinese were racist, they wouldn't be here. There would be no SGR because they wouldn't. They why would they come here and break their neck to build the thing on time if they don't like you? Hmm? They made the agreement in 2000 and they renewed the agreement back in 2018. Renewed it. All Africans that had the agreement in 2000, all the African countries, I forgot the number, that did the Chinese came back. The other one is like obsolete, and every African went. Not one African didn't go. So you tell me who's a fool? The governments of Africa or the people that follow that nonsense in propaganda? Joking. Okay, so I'll change this. Okay, somebody's asking me, am I going to do a trip in 21? Uh, oops. IMZ, I've been to China and they not our friends. Yeah, there we go. You've been to China and they're not your friends. So you're one person. You're gonna make everybody say you're in Okay, let me make this point clear too about going to China. And what's his name? Wama, that Ghanaian guy. He was in China and speaks Chinese, and he did a show, and he said the Chinese are not friendly people. They're not sociable towards foreigners. That's just not that had nothing to do with Africans. It's just that they're not sociable at all towards people in general. They're not friendly like the African. That's not no any fault of their own. They don't go out of their way to insult you, but they're just not friendly. So I can understand you can come and say Chinese, they're not our friends. It's just that that's just the way they are. He interviewed Chinese people, and the Chinese people said, "Yeah, we're like that," But damn, when it comes to doing business, hey, they don't joke. That's why that's why Apple is down and Yahweh is up and taking over and control of 5G. Kudos, yes, but when the Asians had this crisis in the 90s, West told them don't print money, suffer. Fast forward 208, the West does exact opposite of the advice given to the Asians, and then China bailed the United States out in 2008. It was the Chinese that bailed the United States out, and gave them the money and bought all those bonds so that they could loan out that money to save their General Motors and um, J.P. Morgan banks and all that. So people don't know the history. And then here go the Americans sitting out now talking about the Chinese is no good. But they can't say it outright, so they just put these propaganda things out to make the Africans twist your mind, and then they're laughing at you while you're saying you hate the Chinese. And the Chinese is the one who have got you out of the problems that you had with the IMF and World Bank. You should just go to your history. China's increasing and very important trading partner for France. They should watch it. Yeah. Don't forget, France is even coming to African countries now to do business because they see the room is big. Don't let the Africans start doing the same thing. You'll be in trouble. And the African governments is trying their best to replicate the model that the Chinese did. In the 70s, China was nothing. Now it's the most powerful country on the planet. Why am I IR? Thank you, Dark Spear. I'm sorry. My name dealing with names. I deal with too many hundreds of people, and I don't want to say I'm weak with names, but you know, at the moment I need them, sometimes they escape me. Sometimes I'm good, other times I'm not. But anyway, why am I? Yeah, I get a lot of my information about China from watching his videos and then analyzing and going back over what he has said. And it's very true. The Chinese are not that friendly towards foreigners, especially blacks. They don't want to make friends with us. So that's another reason why you ain't gonna find them taking over them Africa. That's silly. They don't even want to be here with us. Africa will rise with China's aid and Russia's aid. GT realists, X have not benefited since their inception. I think if you man cracking me, the negative propaganda is not working because the Chinese is employing too many Africans are employed with the Chinese. And don't forget the 40, not 40,000. I don't know why I got that in my mind. It's more than 40,000. Would open up their borders, and then the Chinese have given 40 something, not 40,000, but thousands of Kenyans scholarships to go learn in Chinese universities, and they're there right now, not complaining. Maybe they're trying to complain because they can't. That shit, Chinese ladies is nothing compared to African ladies, but uh, they're getting that. And then don't forget that when they built the SGR, they took over 1,000 Kenyans to learn how to to do engineering, even in China. And they also trained them, opened up a university here and training engineers here in Kenya. But they also took many of them, over 1,000, to China to learn how to develop the motors and everything with dealing with the trains and how to fix. They have to have engineers to fix the trains and stuff like that. And they're handing this over to the African, just the way they're doing business in 40 countries. They're not just leaving their people there. They're teaching them how to do everything, and then they're gonna leave it in their hands. It's the best benefit. How you gonna keep on being part of something after you done sold it? It's like me. I sell you a car, but then I keep sitting in the back seat of the car wherever you go. I'm just there, joking. That don't even make no sense. Population wise, America and Africa will be better off than China in the future. Okay, America got a problem, buddy. Their shit's going down. Their population's going down. So, oh, this is just not like me not to be talking about what I put on the screen. Cracks meant European. Oh, okay, say it to me right when you talk about it. But anyway, um, let me talk about this issue of the financial situation in the United States. I'm getting more and more reports about anytime now uh, there's going to be a major problem with the U.S. economy. Now, I don't think there's going to be a major problem until November 2020. I believe that the American government can sustain itself uh, until after Trump is reelected. Dark Spirit. If the U.S. goes to a financial crisis, will Africa be seen more attractive as a place to live and do business, given Africa is accustomed to working with very little, if nothing at all? Africans are very conservative because of colonization. It is very true. But when during the 2008 crisis, uh, definitely the dollar will lose its value. Dark Spirit. Um, Black Sunrise. I'm around. Start a Dropbox business with your teachings. A Dropbox. Okay, we got people. Oh, we got a new paper. Mmm. How about that one? See, I know you're tired of the Western Union one. But this is how we support this channel. We don't do Patreon. We don't do super chat. We just simply go to worldremit.com. It's a better way, and it's true. It's faster.